A little earlier this week, I recommended a client maybe to make a gift of some money into a trust. And he said, what's a trust? So here we go. Here's an explanation. A trust is the legal means by which one person, the settlor, or could be two, gives property to another person, the trustees, to look after on behalf of yet another individual or set of individuals who are called the beneficiaries. The trust is a way of giving property to others without giving them full immediate control over it. The settlor can maintain some control over what he or she has given by being a trustee or one of the trustees. The key point to remember is that a trust is not simply another piece of paper, gives rise to a number of rights and obligations, and cannot be terminated by simply throwing away the documentation. The most important consequence of a trust is that the property no longer belongs to the settlor outright. The legal ownership of the property is vested in the trustees and the beneficial ownership in the beneficiaries. It's also important to note that once a deed of settlement has been executed, it cannot be amended subsequently. Changes will not be allowed simply because the settlor changes his or her mind. Although most financial legislation refers to settlement rather than a trust, the terms are interchangeable. So when would you use a trust? Well, bearing in mind that trusts can be created over any type of property, investments, could be a classic car, could be a house. What you need to do is you need to put aside the property for a specific purpose, i.e. maybe for the maintenance of children or grandchildren. The idea is that you're protecting capital from being spent and you're providing for future generations. To protect and provide for young or incapacitated people instead of giving them outright ownership. You might do it because you want to reduce tax, and here is the key, is that the settlor will usually give up any income, capital gains, and capital growth from his or her ownership of that asset, so which may result in a reduction of potential income tax and capital gains tax for themselves and remove the asset from his or her estate for inheritance tax. So, who's party to a trust? Well, there are three parties involved in the creation and existence of a trust. First of all, we have the settlor. The person who creates the trust, i.e. transfers property into the trust. And this can be more than one person. It could be a couple jointly creating a trust for their children. Then we've also going to have trustees. And these are the people who are holding the property legally for the benefit of the beneficiaries. They're the legal owners of the trust property and are bound to hold it or use it for the benefit of the beneficiaries. So this includes investment and administration of the trust fund. So they've got quite a few duties that they need to obey. The settlor may be a trustee, although it's not advisable for the settlor to be the only trustee, as in the event of his or her death, there wouldn't be anyone available to administer the trust. Initial trustees are usually appointed in the trust documentation itself, with the power to appoint further trustees as and when required. Being a beneficiary does not stop a person from being a trustee, although you could have a conflict of interest. It could arise, especially if the trustees have the power to decide the extent of who gets what from the trust. The settlor can be, and often is a trustee as well, or one of the trustees. And of course, the beneficiaries could be children or grandchildren or whoever you choose. So in my scenario, we've got John, who wanted to reduce his inheritance tax. He figured if he survived 7 years from the date of the gift, it would be outside his estate, which would be for inheritance tax purposes. But he didn't want to actually give his grandchildren a lump sum now because they were under the age of 18. So he puts the money into a trust. And that sits there. He is the trustee. He also appointed his two children to be trustees as well, which is fantastic because in the event of his death, there will be someone there to continue the maintenance of the trust. And the beneficiaries are the grandchildren. Now, of course, there are some tax consequences of holding money inside a trust. I'll try and cover that off in a separate video. But for now, that's just the basics of a trust. We've got a settlor who pays it in, the trustees who look after and administer the trust, and of course, the beneficiaries who will eventually receive the assets of the trust. Hope that's helpful. My beginner's guide to trusts. My name's Justin King. I'm a chartered and certified financial planner. and I aim to help you have a successful life. That often involves understanding your money. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, please press the like button and of course subscribe so you never miss an episode. I will cover off in a future video the internal taxation of trusts, which I'm sure you can't wait to look out for. Bye-bye for now.